Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Sports Reel Show. I'm Nicholas Roca, and let's get right to that Miami Heat action. The Miami Heat faced the Pacers on Monday night. A great game between them. Lance Stevenson takes it to the hole. Lance Stevenson had a great game, 25 points. Lance Stevenson again, outside three, kaboom. He hits a nice three there. Seemed like the Pacers may be rolling here in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, also here, a 4-point lead. But Dwayne Wade also had a great game here. A pass to LeBron James. LeBron James sinks that three-point shot. LeBron James had 22 points. Now here, we see George Hill try to get that three. LeBron James to the basket, gets fouled, didn't call, but Dwayne Wade hits that put-back dunk, and the Heat get a 5-point lead with 3 minutes left. Now, with about 25 seconds left, the Heat have that 6-point lead, backdoor cut to Dwayne Wade, and the Miami Heat come out with a victory, a big victory against the Pacers in Indiana, 87-83. The Miami Heat looked great after this game. Leading scorer for the Miami Heat was Dwayne Wade. He had 23 points. LeBron James had 22 points. He also had 7 rebounds and 6 assists. A great game from him. Lance Stevenson, he had 25 points for the Pacers. But it seemed like the Pacers and the Heat, it was head-to-head right there in that game. They were close in the game. They stayed close the entire time until towards the end, about 5 minutes left, when the Heat started pushing and trying to get that gap. The Pacers also tried getting that gap in the third quarter, but it seemed like they couldn't keep the lead. And in the fourth quarter, right there, we saw 3 minutes left. The Heat got that 5-point lead. Then they got it to 8, and they were able to hold on to win that game by 4 points. We also saw after the game, we heard a few words from Paul George where he said that he blacked out in a collision with Dwayne Wade. He now has a concussion. And he's questionable for Game 3. That'll be a big loss for the Pacers. He scored 14 points last game, and he didn't play one of his great games towards the end. After the blackout, he didn't make any field goals, and he said his eyesight was very blurry. But the Heat, great defensive game. It seemed like they were trapping up top when either Paul George got the ball, Lance Stevenson, when he started playing very well. They started trapping on the defensive side, and he started playing. Got Roy Hibbert to get the ball. Also, Chris Anderson would come up to the trap with Norris Cole or Dwayne Wade, and that make Roy Hibbert to get the ball outside 3-point line, which is good for the Miami Heat, and I think that's what they wanted, and that's how they got this victory against the Pacers in Indiana, now having home court advantage. Now, for some more insight, we have one of our own graduates, class of 1982, Jose Paneda, here on a Skype call. He's the Spanish voice of the Miami Heat. Here, Jose Paneda on the show. First question we ask, what do you think was the greatest improvement for the Heat from Game 1 to Game 2?
Well, obviously, in Game 1, the Heat allowed 107 points scored by Indiana. It's the most that Indiana scored during these playoffs, and it's the most that Miami was also allowed during the playoffs. In the second game, Miami held them to only 83 points. It's the second least amount that Miami has allowed in these playoffs in 2014. The defense was much, much better. They held also Indiana to 40% field goal shooting. That's outstanding. It's the best for the Heat during these playoffs as well in terms of defense. So defense is what wins championships, and Miami just was not defensive at all in that first game. And in the second game, things changed around drastically, and therefore the win for the Miami Heat.
Well, even though we saw those great those defensive productions, we only had really 2 guys playing very well offensively, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. And also we had Norris Cole playing pretty good when we needed him to hit the shots. Who do you think will be the other great contribution to the Heat offense in Game 3?
Well, every game is different. Every game is a surprise. You never know who the X factor is going to be. For the Heat, obviously, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh are very important. In the last game, off the bench, you had Norris Cole scoring very well. He had 11 points, and also you had Birdman with a playoff high 12 rebounds, and that was extremely important also for the Heat against a team that rebounds very well, having Hibbert, having West, having Mahimbi under the baskets. So that was very important to do. So it's not just the scoring side, but the defenses, guys. So if Miami can keep Indiana under 80 points, and Miami scores around 90, that's a formula for success, no doubt about it.
Well, also talking about Norris Cole, we saw great defense from him. And on the offensive side, when we needed him to hit those three-pointers, he hit them 2 for 2 from the three-point line. Do you think we should expect some more playing time from Norris Cole in Game 3?
Well, we hope so. And again, the playing time depends on who's playing well and who's not. In that case, on the game on Tuesday night, that Game 2, we saw that Norris Cole was not only scoring and making that outside shot, which has been a little bit of a problem for him during the end of the regular season and these playoffs as well, but his defense was phenomenal, specifically against Lance Stevenson. Stevenson ended up as the leading scorer for the Pacers with 25 points, but only had 2 points in that fourth quarter. And that was a large part to the great defense from Norris Cole. So Cole was fantastic. And again, once you get to this level, there's only 2 teams left in the East. There's only 2 teams left in the West. And you're going to have great competition. It's not easy. These are not these teams are very, very good. And again, it's just attention to detail, defense, and doing what's worked in the past. And for the Heat, that was, again, great defense down the stretch.
Well, the last question is, what will the Heat need to do to win this series against the Pacers?
Well, again,
Tough
now
series
they're
for
coming back home. Miami's won 8 in a row in the playoffs, including last year against San Antonio. If you add up the games at home for the Heat, they've won now 8 in a row. They've won 5 in a row in these playoffs. At home in the last few years, the Heat have been fantastic in terms of at home at the Americans Arena under LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. They're 35-7 at home in the last 4 years in the 4 playoffs. So again, I think that the home crowd is going to help tremendously, but that doesn't mean that it's an automatic victory. They're still going to have to come out strong. For Indiana, this is going to be a very important game. Miami took a game against Indiana at Indiana, so therefore Indiana loses the home court that they so desperately seeked all year long. So now Miami has to keep that home court by winning these 2 games at home on Saturday and on Monday. And again, they have to come out strong and basically think that they're down 0-2. That has to be the mentality against Indiana on the game on Saturday night.
Well, thank you for your time,
no problem.
Mr.
You can
Panetta.
follow me on Twitter at @ La Voz del Heat, LAVOZ, DELHEAT. And remember to listen to our games on Mix 98.3 FM in Spanish. Thank you very much, and go Heat and go Belen.
Again, thank you for that great insight, Mr. Panetta. Here we also had last night a game in the Western Conference Finals. It was the Thunder taking on the Spurs. The Spurs had that 1-0 lead against the Thunder. And here to some highlights here, Tony Parker to the basket. He had a great game for the Spurs, and there the finish by Tim Duncan, a great game for him. Tim Duncan, he had 14 points and 12 rebounds, a great game for him. Now that tip in there with the shot clock going off. Here, Ginobili getting in some trouble, finding Danny Green for 3. Green had a great game himself. He had 21 points, 7 for 10 from the three-point line. All his points came from the three-point line. There, Tony Parker. Now, Manu Ginobili, three-pointer. Bang, he hits that one. Ginobili also, he had a great game for himself. Manu Ginobili had 11 points and 4 assists. And the Spurs are going to cruise through this one here. Tony Parker to take it to the basket. It seems like the Spurs are just on a high. They've been playing great in their home court, even in this entire series. The Spurs take this victory over the Thunder by a big margin, 112-77. And it seems like that loss for Serge Ibaka for the Thunder was a big one for the Thunder, because Serge Ibaka was a big body inside, and when he went down, it was not good for the Thunder. The Spurs played a great game. Tony Parker, again, a great game from him. He had 22 points, winning the offensive battle against Russell Westbrook. Like I said, whoever wins that battle is going to win these games, and it seems like Tony Parker winning the battle between Russell Westbrook and himself. Also, we had a great game from Daniel Green, and when he gets hot, he gets hot. 7 for 10 from the three-point line, 21 points, all all of his 21 points came from the three-point line. A great game for him. And also, again, Tim Duncan, 12 rebounds, and Thiago Splitter with 10 rebounds. A great game here. Let's see how the Spurs will react now going to OKC to play the Thunder in their home court where they have a great fan base. Let's see if the Thunder could answer back, winning 2 games in their home floor, or the Spurs sweep in this series. Well, that's all from me here in the BLN Sports Reel. I'm Nicholas Roca, and from everyone here in the WBLN crew, have a good evening, and thank you for tuning in. And tuning next week on Monday for the WBLN Sports Reel.